Hey everyone, this is M.A. Aponte, also known as Mike Aponte, and this is Special Thinking to Think. Today is May 30th, 2024, and the verdict is in regarding former President Donald J. Trump, who was convicted of 34 counts of a felony. Now, the reason why I'm recording this is because this is unprecedented. This is history in the making, and I am flabbergasted by the entire situation. And here's why. I recently posted my last podcast episode was on selective outrage and just breaking things down. And before going into education, I was a former law enforcement officer in New York City. The statute of limitations is real, but they changed it in order to go after Trump. This is facts. Everything that I'm about to tell you is 100% factual. I recommend you look it up if you do not believe what I'm saying. You can say in the comments, oh, you don't understand, you don't know what you're talking about. That is fine. You can think that way. But the frustration is very real because I know the law. I teach it. I teach law. I teach government. And I've experienced government firsthand. I'm going to give you full disclosure. When I was younger, I worked in former, at the time, well, she was a senator, Hillary Clinton, in her office. I worked for her. I honestly didn't have anything negative to say about my peers, my supervisor, even the time I met a former senator, former secretary Clinton. And on a personal level. Now, on a professional, that's a different story. This episode's not about that. I'm not going to get into it. Here's where my frustration lies. The double standards, the dual justice that is going on in society cannot be spoken enough. It is, once you have a dual system of justice, you no longer have a justice system, because one group is going to believe they can get away with everything, while the other group is going to eventually reject the notion of the justice in that nation. Happened all the way from the Dark Ages, from all of history. Now, I'm going to break things down. And how I'm going to break this down, because this was kind of an impromptu, this is very important. I came out of a graduation for my students today when I found out this news headline. And I was with my family trying to get as much information, like what happened. How is the entire 34 counts conviction happen? Well, the rules changed in the courtroom. So there's an extremely high probability that this is going to get overturned in appeals, because how the process was run. The jurors had to ask for a redirection, clarification, and because there was constant changes in that whole court. There was even a moment where when the main key witness admitted to grand larceny of stealing thousands of dollars, and when something came off that was more in the defense's favor, the judge abruptly removed everyone from the courtroom. This is unheard of. Now, I'm going to break down some of the other facts. And these are all facts. Look this up. We can start with the files that he had. Whether, he had classified, declassified files. He's the president. He's going to have it. Now, whether or not he obstructed, that is still ongoing. Here's other facts. Other politicians who do not have the powers to declassify, such as the current president, President Biden, he had it in his garage. Now, for those of you that don't have a garage, it's a thin metal door. It can break in easily. And he also had classified information also in a facility in Chinatown. These are factual. He did not have the powers to declassify, yet he had classified information. It happened. Now, the FBI determined that because he had a poor memory, they didn't prosecute. Or not right of mind, or what have you, whatever the case may be. Whatever excuse they had. But, even though the White House said, no, everything is fine, he's fine. The FBI should have prosecuted, but did not. And it is what it is. Now, let's go over some of the other facts. Now, I'm going to read something that I saw from a tweet from Sean McGuire, who articulated this in a essay titled, I just donated $300K to Trump. And the reason why I'm highlighting this particular tweet is because he has it very organized on some of the selective outrage that we're currently experiencing right now. All right, so let's start with election denial. Hillary Clinton is still denying the election. Even Representative Pelosi, during a debate in Europe, in Oxford, stated the same thing, the denial. It was rigged. The election. They denied the election results of 2016. But yet, it was Trump that is being pulled. Now, you can go to those details and you say, oh, the importance of the details. Regardless, we could take it a step further. Because it was the Clinton Foundation that funded the Russian Gate. And now the Russia Gate determined that was false. Now, were Russian GRU working to spread and manipulate the election? Of course. But were they affiliated with the Trump campaign? That's 100% false. Now, one is being charged and going through court, and the other one did not. And you can guess who was who. Now, here are some other takes. We have, we talked about the classified documents. Hillary Clinton also had classified documents in which she bleached. Now, bleached, I know the media talks about, bleach. No, she didn't put chemicals in computer software, when you say you're bleaching, it's a special way to format and erase. But her documents were destroyed by their team. Joe Biden, President Biden, before he was president, had classified documents. Mike Pence did as well. And even he, who was the vice president, does not have the powers to declassify documents. But yet only Trump was indicted. Now, either it's a crime, as highlighted in this tweet, either it's a crime for all of them or none of them. And that layer is the double standard. Then there's the border wall. Now, President Trump was being villainized for promoting the border wall, but yet President Biden resumed building not too long ago, even though his laws dictate that it is not a crime to cross the border. So, legacy media is quiet about that. Fine. Then we have the corruption charges. We have, the corruption charges of Trump, but yet President Biden had a serious involvement with foreign countries through Hunter. This is factual. This is not conspiracy theory or anything of the sort. Biden's even caught in video recording in a conference bragging about this. If you don't fire the prosecutor, you don't get the $1 billion. And the prosecutor just so happens to be investigating Burisma and Hunter. These are factual. Okay? I can't stress this enough. This is, in the end, is really not about Trump. And I'm going to get to that. Why I'm frustrated of the situation. I don't care if it was the other way around and we were talking about President Obama, I would be just as frustrated of the situation. This is not about who is being charged. It's about what is happening. Now, another thing that was highlighted in this tweet that it was articulated properly, and I'm going to read this, is 3 strikes for thee, but not for me. Joe Biden was the architect of the 1994 crime bill, which most attribute as the source of the mass incarceration we saw over the next 2 decades, especially amongst black communities. Crack cocaine in particular was treated harshly when combined with the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act. Hunter Biden would be locked up for life if the same rules were applied to him that Joe Biden imposed on thousands of others. As a former law enforcement officer, we enforce the law. We do what's right. We take care of people. We protect people. We believe in, at least I can say for most of us and people I've used to work with in the past, you believe that there's a just system. As a educator and someone that used to teach law and government for years, in history, especially U.S. history, you have to have a belief that there is an idea that lives uniquely in United States society that you don't find often in many countries. It's unique. But we're in a situation, we're on the precipice of a change that if you do not think that the pendulum will not swing the other direction, I cannot stress how sadly you are mistaken. And this is my plea to many of the ones that are praising this this court decision, because this lawfare that's going on is it will swing the other direction. And you're not going to like it because it will trickle down to the local level. It will trickle down. History has shown this time and time again. And if you do not believe that's the case, I need you to watch a few historical documentaries, read some books, look at the history and Chinese Communist Party, many countries in Africa, many countries in Africa, the Soviet Union, the Nazi Party. This is real. History rhymes. And we are in a situation that I do not know how this is going to end if we do not make a shift soon. One of the main prosecutors was the number 3 person of the Department of Justice under President Biden, Matthew Colangelo, or I think I'm butchering his last name. But he was a former DNC political consultant who left an amazing job as a third-ranking official to the Department of Justice under President Biden in December of 2022. And then magically takes a lesser job in Manhattan as a district attorney under District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who I am so grateful that I'm no longer with the NYPD serving under that man. Wow. And you can't help but think that this is, if you also think that's coincidence, then wow, I have a bridge to sell you. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not an idiot either. So, the Lawfare. Let's go back to the Lawfare. I'm gonna implore you to look up to do your homework regarding the charges. These charges were misdemeanor charges that became felonies, and we don't know why. We don't know why. In CNN, there was a commentator that highlighted this in great detail to even say along the lines of the only reason this is happening is because his last name happens to be Trump. This is CNN, who has no love for Trump. So, look at the lawfare that's going on. Election interference case with Jack Smith was appointed special counsel to prosecute Trump. Jack Smith previously got the governor of Virginia convicted of corruption charges, which were then unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court. Basically, Jack Smith misled the jury, why would you choose Jack Smith to be the special counsel for this case? Maybe if all you're trying to do is get charges to stick before an election, even if you know they'll be overturned subsequently by the Supreme Court. This is a direct quote from the same Twitter, Sean McGuire, who articulated this perfectly. And again, I am highlighting these things. You know, I have all this in my head, but it blows my mind. Normally, I would tell all my critical thinkers, write things down, organize your thoughts. But I got home late after the graduation ceremony, taking care of my kids. So I'm just organizing my thoughts while going through information. This tweet from him, I highly recommend you follow him. Was very articulate, and very fair. Um, yeah, he was a Clinton supporter. Classified documents again. Oh, once again, Jack Smith is the special counsel. Um, then we got the Georgia election interference. Fannie Willis, who chose one of the special outside lawyers she was having a relationship with, and um, made made $700,000. Yeah. Then there's the hush money case that we talked about. Michael Cohen, who admitted to stealing money from Trump, which was, if you do not know, if you haven't been following the case, I highly recommend you dive deeper into it. Very, very fascinating. And if you were following the case, you would, I wouldn't say you would be surprised, because everybody pretty much knew this was going to be a hung jury. But still, it was fascinating. Then there's the bank fraud. Trump was ordered by, and the bank fraud case, I have to say, was my favorite. And here's why. There were no victims. Under normal circumstances, you need a victim. There were no victims. In bank fraud, a bank has to accuse you of fraud, because banks are not connected to the federal government. But yet the government took Trump to court, to civil court. And all the banks that the bankers that working with Trump, they had nothing but positive things to say, because they all got paid with interest. There were no debts. They were paid up. So, if you were following that case, you would understand how interesting that was. There were no victims in that case. And then that was also the big thing about how they declared Mar-a-Lago was worth only between 18 million, 27.6 million, which blows my mind, because a $1 million house within 50 miles from Mar-a-Lago is very tiny in comparison. So I don't, it's crazy. They were literally trying to blow up the real estate market, because now you can just look at Zillow and be like, oh, that's the estimated value. Well, they're overselling, and now can destroy the New York City and LA real estate because of it. But that's neither here or there. Then there's the sexual assault allegation, which they ended up having to get paid back. Defamation. So not only did it not happen, but the alleged victim was very different in all the interviews, and that was just weird on its own. But the point where I'm trying to make is, whatever happened to that victim that accused President Biden when President Biden was a senator. Now, here's a fun fact that many people don't know. When they opened up a window to file claims for any person that was assaulted past the statute of limitations, which is basically you'll have a certain amount of years to file a claim that's a felony, that opened up the window for Puff Daddy or P. Diddy for them trying to attack Trump, that opened up the floodgate for P. Diddy's ongoing situation. So that's something you should think about. This is history in the making. If they lock up the political rival of the sitting president, we will be creating precedents in this country where when there is a new political rival that wins an election, the previous administration will probably go to jail for something. If that. At worst. At best, they'll be stuck in litigation for some reason. But I don't know if they care. I don't know if they can't see what's the term. Look at see the trees, the forest from the trees. Can't see the difference. Can't see through the forest. I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me. It's very late, and I'm trying to I am live recording my thoughts on this whole process and trying to game this through on possible scenarios. And as I always advise my students on critical thinking, write things down. I'm not writing it down right now. I'm not listening to my own advice or my own lessons. I just thought this recording needs to happen because it correlates to everything that I was talking about in the previous episode, Selective Outrage. Highly recommend you check it out. If you haven't already done so, I'll put the link above. And I really hope that you're paying attention, because this is beyond crossing the Rubicon. And I don't know how this is going to turn out. And I hope that everyone is paying attention and understand. And and I'm telling you, if you're supporting this, it feels almost the same exact way as when I was young and I supported the Patriot Act. Oh, they would never do it. You have nothing to hide. All these things. And then a few years later, they're using it against American citizens. You need to be careful on the things you are praising and wishing for and celebrating when it comes to government. I hope you take this into account. I'm gonna keep a close eye on everything. I know the conviction will be in July, a few days before the Republican primary, or where they talk about this. They try to see the official nomination for the president, for who's going to run for president and represent the Republican Party. It's very fascinating. These are interesting times that we live in. And I hope that when you make comments, it is not a comment of negativity, I hope it's constructive. And I try to be I try to communicate as much as I can on the comment section. But I really prefer constructive conversations rather than just negative trolls. I don't feed the trolls, so like, subscribe. I will definitely keep an eye on what's going on and update you on this. I don't normally do this new stuff, because I do like to analyze things thoroughly and see all the facts. But this is unprecedented. And I'm concerned because I've seen through history, I've seen where this leads to. And I'm scared for my children. I'm sorry to have it this negative. I will try to make a more positive episode in the future. But thank you for listening. And I wish you all the best. Oh, and last thing I'll mention. While all this is happening, apparently the current administration has okayed the use of U.S. weapons being used to attack Russia and Russian land through Ukraine, which is the escalation of war. So we live in interesting times. I will see you guys in the next one.